An introduction to the vsHome software for new users on how to input a basic roof model. Begin with the title screen. Input your username and password in order to log in. Once logged in, the first screen you'll be presented with is the All Customer screen. You will see existing projects listed here. There is a search function on the right-hand side if your list starts to grow. You can search based on time scale, reorder the list using these categories, or you can search for keywords. We also have the main actions in the bottom right-hand corner, where you can open any existing projects, create new, delete, or export. We're going to begin by creating a new project. Once creating a new project, you will enter the customer screen. Customer screen has fields available to input customer name, address, and contact details. There's an option for setting a visit date if applicable, and you can input an installation address here, should that be different. You can give your client a unique quote number here and update the order status if required. And within the customer screen, you can navigate through the software using the main menu bar on the left-hand side. You can go back to the All Customer screen using the icon here at the top. Once we have completed the customer screen, we will move on to products. I'll begin by entering a customer's details. Instead of having to type out all that information again, assuming the installation address is the same, then we can use this function here to copy the customer's details. We shall give our project a unique quote number for identification purposes, and if we want, we can also provide a status. So, moving on to the product screen. Currently our products are empty. You can add a new product by selecting the new icon in the bottom right-hand corner. Okay, so this will bring you to the Create a New Model window. Depending on what models you have available, they will be listed in categories here on the left side of the window. We have conservatories, solid roofs, and orangeries in this case. Within each of these categories, you will have subcategories containing various standardized models. Choose the model which is the closest to the design you're looking for. For instance, within the ridged category, we have 3 Edwardian style roofs. A standard Edwardian with a house wall to the rear, and a double hipped Edwardian, both in a vertical and horizontal arrangement. We have standard lean-tos as well as L-shaped lean-tos and U-shaped lean-tos. If we were to select our standard lean-to option, just simply double-click over the icon. And this will bring you to the product editor. So here you can give your model a reference. And you can also specify the location. Let's choose garden. Okay, so from here we can alter the design of our model, should it not be a standard lean-to that we're looking for. Over here on the right, we have the edit area, and contained within that we have our roof shape settings. Within the roof shape settings are 2 drop-down menus for the end types, which will control the left independently to the right. Currently these are set to gable. Use the drop-down menu provided and switch one side to a wall and the other to Edwardian. And you can see there we've created a single hip lean-to. You can switch both sides to Edwardian to create a hipped lean-to design. And that can also be segmented to create a Victorian style hipped lean-to. So you can see from that first single standardized model, there are numerous design options available. As well as the edit area, you also have the quick toolbar along the bottom of the screen. We're going to choose the gallery option here. which will take us back to the new model window. Let's go into the ridged subcategory and select a standard ridged model by double-clicking. Let's create an Edwardian style model. So using the edit area again, we can use the end type drop-down menu, which can be changed to a 3-bay, which will create a Victorian style. We also have a gable option for gable style, as well as hybrid options for half and half. I'm going to change it back to Edwardian for the purpose of this video. Okay, so just to explain the product editor in a bit more detail, we have the 3D view here in the center. You can navigate your way around the 3D view in a number of different ways using the icons in the quick toolbar. Currently we have the rotate function selected. You hold the left-hand mouse button over the image and drag the mouse around to view the various elevations. You can also change that to the pan option. Again, hold the left mouse button down and just pan the image. We also have a zoom option, which works in the same way. Hold the mouse button down, move backwards and forwards. Let's just go back to the default rotate function. The next 3 icons allow you to jump from view to view. The circle icon allows you to view from a default, which is a bird's eye. Then you can just use the arrows either left or right to maneuver from side to side. Back to bird's eye view. You can add some detail using the cube icon here, and you can switch to a 2D view back to a 3D view. We can also take snapshot images of the model to save and send to a client. Okay, so let's begin manipulating this standard model. Back to the edit area on the right-hand side. Within the roof shape settings, we have 2 fields controlling span and projection. The sizes detailed are internal frame sizes, and we're just going to change them to 3.1 meters in width and 4.6 meters in depth. You can see the model automatically refreshes. Also, in this section, you can manipulate the pitch. Just going to move the model around to create some perspective. So if we change the pitch, you'll notice the roof height will drop. It's also possible to increase the pitch. So if we come back to the quick toolbar and select our default view, we'll notice the pitch has now changed from 25 to 30.5. For the sake of this exercise, we shall go back to the default of 25. So, having changed your width, projection, roof height and pitch, another typical thing to consider on a conservatory roof design would be rafter spacing and rafter layout. First, I'm going to take the cursor and click the left-hand mouse button in the center of this elevation right here. Notice that the contents of the edit area changes, and we have a drop-down menu here that allows us to select Edit Rafters. Notice that the software puts sufficient rafters into this roof layout in order to ensure that the rafter spacing does not exceed 800 millimeters. This is specified in this field here. And you'll also notice the division type is set to maximum separation. So what we can do is we can change the division type. First of all, I'm going to click the opposite side of the roof using the left-hand mouse button in the centre of the elevation and select the Edit Rafters option. You can change Division tab to n equals and specify the number of bars. We can change 5 to 4, or we can add a bar and make it 6. Each time the software will equally space each rafter. You can change the spacing individually if necessary. Simply bring the cursor over the measurement shown, double click, and add the measurement in the window provided. You can then choose using these options here on how the roof layout will be affected by your change. In other words, you can choose to move this rafter here, or this rafter, or both in equal amounts. So within this quick toolbar, you also have undo and redo functions here. So let's undo here and bring us back to what we had before. As well as changing the spacing individually, you can also change them as a whole. You can do this by first using left-hand mouse click on this side and then going to the drop-down menu in the edit area and selecting Edit Rafters, then User Separation Division Type. And this will generate a list of all the spacings on this side of the roof here, working from the host wall forwards. Typical reasons for changing bar spacing: some systems require a certain amount of clearance between the last rafter spacing and the end of the ridge. So let's say that clearance in this case was 70 millimeters. We would take the ridge length shown here at 3.05 meters, taking away 70 millimeters and dividing by 4 in order to determine the required spacing. So I'm just going to do that quickly on my calculator here. Take away the 70 millimeter clearance, assuming it is 70 millimeters. Divide the answer by 4, and that leaves me with 745 millimeters. So let's enter that in here, and then we can hit apply. You can see that leaves quite a large spacing to finish. We can now take our cursor and click with the left-hand mouse button in the center of the triangle and then right-hand mouse button to generate the drop-down menu. Here you have a split option where you can split into 2, and that will give you 2 equal spaces, as you can see here. Also, by using the right-hand mouse button, you can align one side to the other, which just saves a little bit of time. There you go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is align my jack rafters up. You don't have to do that, but it helps to make a nice even layout. As I did before, I'm going to double click the left-hand mouse button over the dimension line provided and then change the measurements to ensure my jack rafters line up. Another way of providing this essential clearance would be to extend the ridge, which you can do in a very similar way to how I've changed rafter spacings. Double click the left-hand mouse button over the measurement provided and simply type in the desired ridge length. I'm going to make it 100 millimeters longer. You can see there it extends the ridge end, creating a steeper pitch to the front. I'm going to undo that, as there are 2 ways to extend the ridge length, either by length or by specifying pitch. I'm just going to click the left-hand mouse button over this 25-degree label here, highlighted in red. Then I'm going to click right-hand mouse button and go to Edit, which will bring up this edit window here, where I can change the Modify Slope By function from Raising Ridge to Moving Ridge in Plan. And then I can use the field provided to specify my desired pitch. So you can see the software will then work out the desired ridge length to create the pitch you've specified. So from time to time, additional icons will appear in the quick toolbar along the bottom. Just to show you, for example, if we were to click the left-hand mouse button over one of the rafters, you will see the icons appear. A lot of these functions do similar things to what we've already shown in the edit area on the right. So let's have a look. We've got a delete function, so we can delete a bar. You can align rafters with the windows below, or you can align rafters over the ridge like we did earlier using the right-hand mouse click. As you can see, that brings the bar back. You can also change the position of the bar by using this function here. We were doing that by simply double-clicking over the measurement. So you can also use these icons, which will perform the same job. Finally, there's a splay option. So if you've got a rafter in the front, you can splay it and jack it independently using the icon provided. This can also be done in the edit area using the drop-down menu. You will notice that these icons will perform this function on the entire layout as opposed to the rafters individually. So next we're going to add some box gutters and tie bars. Two popular additions to a roof design. Currently we've been in the Design tab within the Edit area. And we're now just going to move down to the Modify tab. And as you can see, as default, that will bring us into our tie bar settings. So this first icon here will add a 3-way tie bar. And then we also have options for a 4-way tie bar or a tie bar to provide an opening for a fan. We can link our tie bars for more complex designs and delete tie bars individually and in entirety. These icons work through a drag and drop process. So we're going to select our icon using the left-hand mouse button, hold it down and drag it over to the design. Notice everywhere a tie bar can be added will be highlighted in yellow. Keeping the left-hand mouse button pressed, bring the cursor over the target. It will then go green, at which point you can release the tie bar. You can see now that we have a standard 3-way tie bar. So let's go back to the default view. I can delete that tie bar again through a drag and drop process. If I undo that and bring that tie bar back, I can also delete all tie bars. Let's try a 4-way or fan tie bar, again using drag and drop. Specify the separation you require depending on the size of the fan, and you can see you have 2 verticals leaving the center space uninterrupted. We're now going to stick with the standard tie bar for the sake of this exercise. I'll just add that back in. Tie bars will depend on the width in comparison to the ridge length, and requirements for tie bars can differ from system to system, so it's best to get advice from your fabricator in regards to necessities for tie bars. So we can now move on to the Roof tab. This is within the Modify tab. A number of icons in here will manipulate the roof design. We're going to focus on the box gutter icons here. So we have 3 icons, which are the main ones. We have a partial, a full box gutter, and a remove box gutter. I'm going to start with a partial box gutter. Again, using the drag and drop, you'll see the targets highlight in yellow. Bring the cursor into position and release on the green. You will see the partial box gutter window appear. In here, we can specify the box gutter length. So I'm going to go with 2 meters. We can also see box gutter sizes if the roof system caters for it. So here we can choose between single and double box gutter. I'm going to stick with a single for now, and you can see there the software will add a partial box gutter 2 meters in length and introduces a return on the house. So this could be for a kitchen extension, for example. So now if I move the image around, you can see that you've got a box gutter in position. Okay, so we're going to delete that box gutter. Again, using drag and drop. This time we're going to go for a full box gutter. There's no need to specify a length, and now the box gutter will run the entire length. It's also worth noting that the width of the box gutter, in this case 165 millimeters, is being added to the original width of 3.1 meters, making a total of 3.265 meters. You can allow for your box gutter in the first instance by deducting the box gutter width from the span when you initially inputted it. Or if we just go and undo this, get rid of the box gutter and put it back on using the same method, you'll notice here we have a set host wall at current eaves line tick box. If you tick that box, the software will make the necessary deduction and add the box gutter to maintain the original width of 3.1 meters. So I'm just going to undo that, as I'm going to stick with the standard design for the sake of this exercise. As well as standard box gutters, there are also raised leg box gutters or high-backed box gutters, which are required when the kitchen extension encroaches into the natural footprint of your conservatory. For that box gutter, we're going to use the cut out icon and use the drag and drop. The 4 targets are shown. I'm going to choose the top right hand corner. We now need to specify the length of the box gutter. I'll stick with 2 meters. We also need to specify a return. So let's go for 200 millimeters. Okay. So what you see here is now the box gutter will include a welded return in order to wrap around the kitchen extension that encroaches into the natural footprint of your conservatory. You'll also notice that there is now a welded upstand in order to maintain a consistent pitch. So that is a raised legged or a high-backed box gutter. Okay, I'm just going to go back to the default view again, and then I'm just going to undo that for the sake of the exercise. Okay, so next we're going to add roof vents, another popular addition to roof designs. So sticking within the same tab in the edit area, we have some icons here for roof vents, which again work using the drag and drop process. Target goes green and release. And just add another one to the other side. And there you go. Next, we're going to move into the glazing tab. In the glazing tab, you can manipulate your glazing material. First of all, we're going to take a look at the roof glass. We have a number of options available. We have an unglazed option, a blue glass, and a clear glass option. So we're going to change it to blue. And you can see the colour of the glass changes there. We also have glazing options relating to the windows, controlling the fan lights, the side wall glass and lower panels independently. We can also change these from unglazed to glazed. Next we move on to the materials tab. Here you can change the colour of your model. So we have a profile colour here on the right within the edit area. Currently we have a white roof and we can change that to rosewood or an anthracite roof. We can change the frame colour in a similar way. So if I just drag the model around to create a different perspective and then just change the frame colour to match. There are also options for on white, which keeps the interior white. And you can change the gutter independently, just so it can match the model. You can also change the colour and texture of the host wall, dwarf walls and the paving, as well as the internals. So to do that, over here in the external tab, we can also use in quite an extensive library of different textures and change to a different appearance in Brickwork. And we can follow the same process for the paving as well. As you can see, there are multiple options to choose from. And I'm going to stick with something neutral to be in keeping with the design. Moving to the internal tab, and we can change the appearance of the inside to give it a lighter finish. We can also change the appearance of the floor as well. I'm going to change it from a timber laminated floor to this tiled option here. And just switching to the trims tab here, you can also change the colour of the skirting and the window ledge if you choose to. We have a few different options available. And if you would like to stick to a plain colour, I'm just going to stick to a white to keep with the interior of the design. You can use the paintable option. Okay, having completed the roof layout, we're now going to take a look at the window layout. So if we click the left-hand mouse button in the centre of these panes, you'll notice the edit area on the right alters. And if we just go to the drop-down menu at the top of the edit area and choose our edit side frames options, you'll notice there is a similar division type option as we had with the rafter spacings. So we can change that maximum separation just to n equals, and then specify a number and change the number of divisions exactly the same way as we did with the rafter spacings. You can also choose to change the windows individually, exactly the same as we did before, just by double clicking over the measurement and changing it in the window provided. And using these options here to specify how you want the layout affected by your changes, either by moving left or right, or again, you can move evenly in either direction. So I'm just going to undo that. You'll notice in the quick toolbar some icons have appeared when you click on the pane. These will also allow you to alter the frame layout. So you can merge panels to form larger panels just by clicking. You can merge it with the left, or if we just undo that, you can merge it with the right using the icon next to it. And you can also choose to split that panel back again. And finally, you can choose the option here, which will align your window frames with the rafter spacings above. Remember, we changed the rafter spacing to provide a certain amount of clearance here at the end of the ridge. This is why you've now got this misalignment. It'd probably be wise to correct that misalignment by using this very useful function here to align your windows with the rafter spacings. There is always more than one way to do this. So if we just undo, you can click your left-hand mouse button between a division, between two windows. Use the right-hand mouse button to bring up the drop-down menu, and you'll notice there is an align function there too. And finally, just undo that. So by clicking the left-hand mouse button again in the center of a pane, choosing from the Edit Side Frames drop-down menu from the Edit area on the right, and then just back to maximum separation. Change to given separations, and this works in exactly the same way as we had before with the rafter spacings, where you can just specify them all in one go. So I'm just going to type these out in the box here. Apply it, and then you can use the split function, which you can get into using the right-hand mouse button here, as well as using the icons in the quick toolbar along the bottom. So as you can see, there are numerous ways to change the layout of your windows. Okay, so now we're going to look at changing the design of the windows. So we have a fixed pane. I'm just going to click the left-hand mouse button in the center of this first pane here. Double click and we get our panel selecting window. From this panel selecting window, you'll notice there are some typical frame layouts. And there is also a number of categories to choose from, such as full height windows with no dwarf walls and full height windows with a transom. And then you have door options and full height wall options. Okay, so I'm going to start by putting standard transoms in. Just going to double click on my desired style and you'll notice the window changes to suit. What we're then going to do is mirror that transom through the model. Now you can do that independently, one by double clicking the left-hand mouse button in the center of each pane and choosing your desired window. Or you can use these functions down here within the edit area to mirror the transom through the entire elevation. So this one will copy it to the next panel, or you can copy it throughout the entire elevation. Okay, so I'm just going to move the model round to the front elevation, and I'm going to correct this misalignment between the rafters and the mullions. If you remember, we changed the rafters to line up over the hip. So I'm just going to click my left-hand mouse button in the center of this pane. I can either use the icon in the quick toolbar along the bottom, or I can click my right-hand mouse button to choose the Align with Rafters function right here. I'll double-click my left-hand mouse button in the center of this pane to bring up my panel selector, and I can put the transoms in either side. I'm then going to click the left-hand mouse button in the center of this pane, and we'll either use the merge function here on the quick toolbar, or I can click the right-hand mouse button and merge that way. Now I'm just going to double click the left-hand mouse button to bring up the panel selector for this pane and choose the door category to add in some French doors. Moving around to the final elevation, you can see the same misalignment, so click into the center of the pane with the left-hand mouse button, right click to bring up the drop-down menu, and then use the Align with Rafters. We can start by putting the first transom in. Double click the desired style, then we'll just run that through using this icon within the edit area. Okay, so we're just going to move into the Modify tab and then select the Windows tab at the top from within that. Notice there are some icons that will manipulate the style of the windows. And what I'm going to do is just add in some openers, and you can do that by choosing the opener style from within the panel selector. So if I just double click my mouse here, you can see there is a opener option available. So I can add it in that way, or you can use these icons within the edit area to add in an opener. Using a drag and drop function again, hold the left-hand mouse button. All the possible areas will highlight in yellow, target goes green, and release. You can then use a fixed option to remove that opener again with the drag and drop process, whatever's easiest for you. I'm going to put 2 openers on this side, and then I'm just going to use these tools here to spin it round and put 2 more openers on the opposite side to match. There we go. So if we just move round to the front, I'm going to click the left-hand mouse button in the center of the door, head back to the Design tab within the Edit area, and you'll see the Edit Door option in the drop-down menu. You'll notice in here we have a drop-down menu that will control the color of your door handle. You can change it from the default of white to either gold or chrome. I've chosen chrome just to complement the anthracite windows. We can also change the frame layout to include a full height wall. So if we move round to the right hand elevation and double click our left hand mouse button into a pane, and from the panel selector choose solid wall, and then just run that solid wall through using the icon provided from the edit area. And you'll notice we have a full height wall. Just going to zoom out so you can have a look. So once we've completed, select the finish icon in the bottom right hand corner of the product editor. You'll notice we now have an entry in your product screen. So from here, we can jump to the report screen, which you'll find on the main menu bar on the left hand side. And then we can select the sales report by clicking on the graph icon. Now we have 2 reports. You can view them on screen or within your PDF editor using this button here. So we have a roof plan which details the perimeter sizes, the bar spacings, the roof specification, including the colour, the glazing material and so on. And we then have our standard 6 view, which will show you the elevations, detailing the frame layout. So we hope you found this video useful. We recommend viewing our online tutorial for more information about the Visualize tab, which is where you can add an image of your model to a photo backdrop of your choice, which can be useful for sending clients images of the model. For more tutorial videos, visit the support area on our website.